Welcome to the Primal Podcast. I'm David Pedersen. This podcast is meant to help anyone, including myself, to expand their knowledge on new and interesting topics, to learn to ask questions about what there is to know, and to get information out there that is hard to find. My goal is to learn from others about their experiences from all different fields and how they can correlate together. Hello, everybody. My guest today on the show is Jenna Johnson. She is a very good friend of mine that I met at Keiser while going through our associates program. She is an amazingly smart human being, always got better grades than me, as you will learn in the episode today. She is a personal trainer at Get Fit on the Go in Nashville, Tennessee. She's been there for about 2 years. She is a bikini competitor, and she is also a Rodin and Fields consultant. We talked about a lot of nutrition stuff, some different avenues and ways to increase your awareness for nutrition and just overall general health. I really hope you enjoyed this episode with my good friend Jenna. All right. Well, hey Jenna, how you doing?
Good, David. How are you?
I'm great. Just took the dogs on a long walk, having a great night. It's freezing out here.
Okay. Freezing in San Diego means what?
It's like 40, like in the 40s. It's pretty cold.
Okay, that's not too bad. Nashville hit a little chillier the past 2 days, so I'm with you.
Yeah, but you're originally from Illinois.
Right, so I
Did
can't
you
complain.
notice how I said it?
Mm-hmm. You didn't put the Illinois?
Uh-huh. I mean, I don't say Illinois that much, but when I do, I still remember that huge conversation we had at school talking about how you do not pronounce the is.
The S,
yeah.
The Illinois.
Yeah, Illinois. That's how I've always said it. So you're in Nashville now. Where exactly are you in Nashville? Because Nashville's a pretty big place.
It is. I am South Nashville, so I'm still in Nashville, but I'm like on the very edge of Nashville and Brentwood. So
okay.
South side.
Now,
I love it. It's great.
South side. See, I told
South side.
Last time I talked to you.
That twang.
Yeah, I heard that twang coming out. I like it. It sounds good.
Good. I've always wanted one.
Yeah, that was one of those things, like growing up in the parts that I was in Florida. Like, yeah, there's some parts in Florida that are pretty redneck, hillbilly, but I was never really in those areas. It was Tampa, Clearwater, Jacksonville, a bunch of different places, Sarasota, Bradenton. Those aren't. I mean, Bradentucky is a real thing, but that's only
right?
That's only in certain places. So I never was really around twang, and it was always still because you can't really say that you're from the South when you're from Florida. Like there's parts.
Florida's its own thing. Yeah. It's its own South.
Yeah, it's like, yeah, like, oh, you're from Cuba? Yeah, I'm from Florida. It's different.
No, totally. I was surprised though at the amount of like country love in Florida. It's just a different South than your like Tennessee, Georgia South.
Yeah. So when you first moved, now how long ago did you move to Nashville?
I've been in Nashville just over 2 years now.
And loving every second of it?
Crazy. I really do, yeah.
What brought you to Nashville? Because you came from Illinois, moved to Florida. How long were you in Florida?
Just over 3 years in Florida.
Okay. And
3.5 years in Florida.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And then you went to Nashville. How did that all work out?
Yes. I honestly was just like ready for a little while. I think probably you could tell in school, like I didn't know whether to like wait till like the whole bachelor's program was done and then move or what I wanted, but it was just kind of on my mind for a while that I was just ready for a change. So I first I was like, maybe I just need to go to St. Pete, move from Sarasota to St. Petersburg, a little more younger life. But I came to visit Nashville. It is always a spot I wanted to explore. I guess being from the Midwest, I kind of missed having some seasons, but I didn't want to go back to Illinois and have like full-blown winter anymore. So really my first trip to Nashville, I just came on a weekend to visit, just sold me. And about 2 months later, I moved.
So what part of Nashville did you visit, and what are the areas in Nashville that you love the most?
So I came to visit, and I stayed with actually a high school friend at the time that was living here, and she lived like in the heart of Nashville. So that was awesome to me, just to have like the experience that she had. And I guess so Nashville, have you ever been to Nashville?
I have not. I've been to Memphis. That's the only big, famous Tennessee town that I've been to.
Yeah. So Nashville, of course, everyone knows Nashville for Broadway, and there's, all the hype of Broadway, and it's fun. And of course, my first weekend here, I lived up Broadway, but my friend living here at the time also suggested there's almost like little outskirt neighborhoods around Nashville, and it's just so full of different spots that have different restaurants or coffee shops or shopping places. And it's just, the people here are so welcoming, and it's very a home feel. I guess I just felt like I fit in with just the environment and the openness of everyone here. It's kind of a town that's just I guess I'm from Illinois, and I knew Chicago as a city, and Chicago just seems so hustle bustle and business, where Nashville just seems like such a city of just dreamers. Everyone's chasing some dream here. It doesn't matter, about being in the business suit so much, but everyone's just very supportive.
So what was the dream that you were chasing, or what was your Nashville dream?
Honestly, I don't know that I necessarily had a Nashville dream. It was just, I just wanted to try something different in life. So I was very open. I wasn't, looking to necessarily fulfill something other than just being open and just seeing where life could take me by just coming here.
Now, you have a decent amount of education, a couple degrees. So, you have a lot of different avenues of what you could do. When you first moved, what was your first initial thought?
So you're right. And I've been very conflicted about that, my whole life. So when I left Florida, we had just finished, the associates in the sports medicine program. So moving to Nashville right away, I was very confused on whether I look back into my corporate communications degree and kind of get back into doing events. Obviously, the city's booming with events and all sorts of activity, or whether I get into fitness right away, coming fresh out of that. I was kind of searching both once I got here. I didn't even have a job moving here. So once I got here, I was searching both.
I would say that's a dream. That is on the level of dream. If you move to a huge city with nothing but, the clothes or whatever you have on your back, that classifies as a dream.
Yeah, I had everything in my car, and that was it. We came. Yeah, I don't know. As much as I'm such a planner and everything else in life, I just felt at peace to just, I'll figure it out, and it's okay. It'll work out.
Sometimes you have to listen to your heart.
Yep.
And it's worked out really well for you.
It has. There's been very few times in my life where I felt like, yes, taking that leap of faith is just, go for it. Just try it. What do you have to lose?
So I know that a lot of times we talk, because I could go on and on about how the leap and the decision to come out to San Diego has been one of the best decisions I've ever made in my life, and how I've been able to create such a different life and be able to make my wife happier in ways that I didn't even expect. But it's what I like to talk about is kind of how we got to that position, or the things that led up to that maybe even wasn't even a bad decision. Why didn't I move out here earlier, or the different stuff. So I know that you've been in this state of trying to really learn from experiences, trying to help people, and a lot kind of show people that you can pick up and move on or restart. So that was something I wanted to kind of get your idea of. What were some of the decisions or even bad mistakes that kind of led you to making that big move and a great decision for your life?
Yeah, no, that's awesome. That's really, if I were to look back at myself, in college, or take it 5 years back, I would have never thought that I'd be the person with the courage that I have today. So I'm thankful for that, but it's taken growth, and it's taken those leaps and trusting in that. And it's through hard times and uncertainties and some setbacks and some failures along the way that really teach you, who you are. And sometimes, for me lately, it's been more about figuring out who I am rather than trying to feel like I need to fit this societal mold and have it all figured out and be in this position that's just, fulfilling my life, or at least just going through the 9 to 5 motions that may not even be that fulfilling. So, See, I decided to come to Nashville, I think, on the same feeling that I felt originally when I was looking to leave Illinois after college. Like, something told me I needed to try something different in life. Maybe at the time after college in Illinois, it was the fact that...
What college did you go to?
I went to Northern Illinois University.
Okay.
Which was just the town over from my hometown.
Got it.
So I hadn't really left. And all my friends were getting positions, downtown Chicago. They had stuff figured out, and I just didn't quite have myself figured out. And ultimately it came down to, if I don't know what I'm going to do with work, I need to make some sort of change. And I think that's where the move came. And I didn't quite know what I was going to do with the move, but I just wanted to feel like, yeah, hey, I'm making a change in my life too.
Now, is your whole family still in Illinois?
They are, yes.
Okay, so what? Because I know you have two other sisters.
Yes, two younger sisters.
And so you're the big sister.
Mm-hmm.
So you are the first sibling to leave. You're also the oldest. Was it always something like that? Were you always kind of I want to say outcast, but the ones that were like kind of dreamed bigger or didn't want to be this hometown person?
I would say that, like, out of my family, yes.
You're the adventurer.
Yeah. Like, I idolized my middle sister because she always knew what she wanted to do. She couldn't wait to get out of college and start her job and, settle in. And I'm just kind of like,
what does she do?
I don't know. She's a nurse.
Oh, okay. Any particular field?
She's just, to be honest, I don't
ER. Okay. So she's just a regular registered nurse?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And she's known that she's wanted to do that forever?
Probably not forever, but about the time, college or high school into college, she figured out she wanted to do the nursing program. My mom's a nurse, so we had that exposure in our lives. I volunteered at the hospital in high school, and I realized this is not the setting for me.
Yeah.
Just way too quiet. I needed out of the walls. Like, power to them for doing that and knowing what they wanted, but
There's been times in my life where I thought I knew exactly what I wanted to do, and I had everything, and like I had things set up. It's the way I wanted, and it just didn't end up like that. And I'm thankful for those things. Like when I got out of high school, I wanted nothing more than to be an architect because I was in TSA. I made it to nationals for Technology Students Association. I was one of the head. I pretty much excelled in the technology in high school, and I learned AutoCAD and all this stuff. So I was really, really into it all the way from middle school to high school. And that's just what I thought I wanted to do. And I heard it made good money. I love building houses, the drawing aspect. And it was kind of one of those things where AutoCAD was not new, but it was getting new updates. And I was like, not on the cutting edge, but I started learning some of the new technology in school. So I was told by many people that I would have a leg up because I'm already understanding that what the professionals are trying to understand.
Yeah.
So I was all for it. And then I realized how much tuition costs. I realized that, I didn't realize, but I just woke up to the fact that, I forgot I'm pretty poor. I don't have any money for any kind of education. And I didn't want to let go like all my friends and go to this community college that it seemed like everybody was going to just, drink, hang out with friends. It was like 13th grade instead of 12th grade. It's just for what it felt like. And I can't do this. So then I went into the military. And in the military, I wanted nothing but to be a firefighter, aviation firefighter. And that turns out to be a horrible job in the Marine Corps. Like horrible. So I'm so glad that in boot camp, they decided to switch my MOS without telling me because of the needs of the military. So at every stage, I feel like in life, I've known what I wanted to do. Oh, and when I got out of the military, I wanted to be a nutritionist. And then, as both of us know, just because you're a nutritionist doesn't mean that you learned anything. Some of the things that they learn in school aren't completely right. It's not what's used in the field. Went and talked to nutritionists and strength coach, and they're just saying, you just get the degree for the title, and then after that you teach whatever you want because most of the stuff in the textbook is outdated or wrong. So I'm like, this doesn't seem right. So I totally understand about just on both sides, thinking you know what to do, but then having no idea.
Right. I know. And we are, I guess, on complete opposite spectrums of that. But hey, it works out.
Yeah, it does. And sometimes for the best. So now that you're in Nashville, what do you do?
So I'm now a personal trainer it's called Get Fit on the Go fitness studio here. About a year ago, I started getting on board with them. So even in Nashville, I've already had a couple transitions go on in my life, but I've fallen back into the field of fitness.
Got it. So so what kind of certification do you have?
I just have my personal training certification.
Okay. Who'd you get it certified through?
Through the NECP, the National Education of College Professionals.
Oh, sweet. Yeah, I've heard of that, but I've never really looked into it. Just because
I actually did it in Sarasota. They were doing it through Crunch Gym. So it was a couple day course, on hands.
Okay. So now you're a full-time trainer. Do you work at just one facility?
It's one facility. Yeah. We just had our 2-year anniversary that they've been opened.
Awesome. So have you been with them almost all 2 years, or you said 1 year?
About 1 year.
Okay.
Yeah. I was introduced to them. Someone at a gym I was working at here told me to go, hey, you should come do this, free first boot camp. And I was like, I don't know, boot camp's not my style. I want to lift some weights, And honestly, I went with her, and I never left since that first day of going back. I met the owner, and he pulled me aside after class, and he told me 2 things. He goes, 1, do you want a job here? And 2, have you ever considered competing?
Okay. And what did you say?
At the time about the job, I told them, when I first moved to Nashville, I started for a little bit at a gym until I switched jobs. So I told them, I've touched base on being in a gym. I do have a background in it. I'm just not sure yet what I'm wanting. I have another job I'm striving for in events, trying to get a corporate position in that. And then in terms of the competing, I was like, you know what? It's funny because you're actually the 3rd person now that has said something to me about competing. So he told me, of course, well, 3rd time might be a charm.
Yeah. So what kind of competing did he want you to do, or did you guys talk about?
So bikini competition, but of course at the time, because people had made some comments to me before, I kind of looked it up and got an idea of what it was, but I really had no idea what that meant and really what the sport of bodybuilding really entailed in its entirety.
Do you have a better understanding of it now?
I do.
Sweet. I would love to hear the breakdown of the different categories, because obviously we have bro talk and we hear about different stuff and talk. I have a couple power lifters, bodybuilders, and Olympic lifters that I work with, but I've never really talked to someone that's been in the field trying to compete and know all the categories.
Yeah. So basically this whole last year, it was last January when I told him hey, okay, I found a show. I have a date. Let's do this. So I competed in my first show last May, and I ended up competing in a total of 3 shows last year. And it's probably been the best experience of my life, not only competing, but everything it's taught me.
That's awesome.
But as far as so I did the bikini category, but it all falls under the sport of bodybuilding. And I think at first I had a hard time saying oh, I'm a bodybuilder. Cause I'm no, I'm not. Everyone knows bodybuilders are the, big old guys and big old muscles. And so until I took even an understanding of the sport, yes, a bikini competitor is still in the sport of bodybuilding.
Okay.
It's just kind of your first basic division, I guess, if you were to put it on a spectrum from the women's side. So you can be a bikini competitor, you can be a figure competitor, you can be a physique competitor, or you can be in women's bodybuilding. So it all goes up in stages of progression, kind of just based on muscle mass and size. But, I thought bodybuilding was just one thing.
Yeah. How long did it take for you to get ready for your first show? What was the prep for that?
So my first show, I committed to it in January, and we pretty much got in the mindset of it then. And my show was in May. So I had about 5 months out. Now, I wasn't in January and then even into February, I wouldn't say I was in full on prep mode, but we had the mental sake of, okay, let's, start figuring things out.
Okay.
And honestly, it's just, if someone wants to do a show, it just kind of depends on their background and their current state, and solidifying a date and figuring out, how many weeks you need. Some people 8 to 10, some 12 to 16. It just kind of depends on where your starting point is and, how much you need to change and how serious you're going to be.
So you did 3 shows. Now, did you do the first show and then we're like, oh man, I really like this. I want to do one next week or next month. Like, how did you what was the progression of that? Because it took you 5 months to do the first one, but then you only had 7 months left for the rest of the 2.
Yeah. So it was, and my coach is also my now boss. Kind of told me at the beginning, he's like, some people do a show and it's just, check it off the list. I did it. Proud of yourself. Go on with life. Or you're going to compete and you're going to fall in love with it and, get the hype and want to do it again. And that, of course, is what happened to me. So a bodybuilding competition, the way it works is like in the morning we have a prejudging. So you kind of go through your whole stage routine and then you take a break and you come back at night. So after the morning, the prejudging of my first show is when I was like, oh my gosh, such an adrenaline rush, like so much nerves, but also so much excitement, So I was just kind of on a high from it. And then when we came back for the night show, they do an athletes meeting before everything starts. And one of the representatives there was talking about another show that he was promoting that was 2 weeks later in Jackson, Tennessee. And I was texting my coach there. I was like, oh my gosh, I think this girl next to me and I both want to compete in 2 weeks. Like, what do you think? He's like, let's talk about it after tonight, finish up this show. So it was right then that I was like just sitting in that meeting with all the athletes around, learning so much, being so inspired by just, the judges and people talking, that I was like, this is such a cool community of people. Like, I belong here. Okay. I want to try it again.
That's awesome. How'd you do on your first show?
So my first show, I took second.
Out of how many people?
Competed. It was a pretty small show. Actually, all the shows I've competed in have been pretty small. I think there may have been 9.
Okay.
In my class.
What's the different classes?
Yeah, so that's another thing. So I would never suggest this to a first-time competitor, but I had never been to a show or anything before, so I kind of went into this blindly. So if anyone out there wants to compete, please go and watch a show and kind of, get your feet wet and get an understanding from an audience perspective of what a show even is. So I entered in true novice, which means you've never stepped on stage in a competition before. But you can compete in true novice, or open are the divisions.
Okay.
Once you compete in a true novice and you've been on stage, you can never compete in that category again.
Got it.
And then when you place first in your overall novice class, which means you're broken down into height categories.
Okay.
So you can place,
So it doesn't go by weight, it goes by height.
For bikini, it goes by height.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
So you can place, within your division based on height, and then the first place in each of those divisions then compete for an overall bikini winner.
How many inches is between the different height categories? Like, is it every 3 inches?
Most of mine have been in about a 2 to 3 inch radius.
Okay.
It kind of depends on the show and how many competitors.
Got it. Okay. All right. Well, that's so good. 2 out of 9. That's really awesome. So that was your first one. What was the big thing that got you like, this is my group, this is my people? Was it the community behind the stage? Was it actually being on stage? Or was it the relief of putting this whole masterpiece together and then presenting it on a stage, and that masterpiece is you?
I'd say a combination of all of it, honestly. I'm a really competitive person within myself. So
yeah, I learned that in college.
Like, right? How much I would sit and study.
I felt so awesome. It's not when you left, but like I felt so much smarter once you left. Like I realized that there's nobody like smarter than me in the class, or like there's no one that is gonna like just crush me on exams. So like I was getting the top scores. It lasted about a week, and then I'm like, man, this isn't fun to be on the top. No one's trying to challenge you. But I did enjoy it that first week. I'm not gonna lie.
That's awesome.
For anybody that's wondering, Jenna is an absolute ace. She doesn't make anything less than like a 94. It's really annoying because she's super good at studying, and then she retains knowledge really well, and she's a great test taker. So I was always on her coattails. I was always trying to beat her. It was almost to the point where like I felt bad one day because I was competing so much with this just nice, beautiful, like sweetheart of a female that would never hurt you. And I'm like, I want to beat her. I want to get better. So like I had to put my ego in check at a bit. And then we became like study partners. I still didn't get my exams still didn't get much better, but you know, learn the knowledge. But I guess it's more about knowledge, right? That's what they say.
It is. Hey, and
for the people that aren't competitive.
Hard.
Yeah, that's what people say that aren't competitive. Yeah, it's for the it's for the knowledge. Yeah, okay. But anyways, so you were so you're a really competitive person, and you enjoyed that aspect of the show?
Yeah. So for me, I think it's like, okay, now I've seen it, like, and especially after my first competition, I was like, because it's a very, very mental sport, and you have to be extremely disciplined, you know, especially to move up in levels and want to get to a bigger level with it, if that's what girls want to do. You just have to be so self-driven and self-motivated and be able to make sacrifices that normal people don't.
Because it really is a one-man team.
Yeah. I mean, you can have a coach, and you can have a meal plan, and you can have everything given to you, but ultimately it's you putting in the work and showing up every single day.
It comes down to one of my best friends did a bodybuilding show.
Okay.
Yeah, and he I remember it wasn't the training, it wasn't the poses, it wasn't the mental grind. It was the mental grind of the eating patterns, like having to eat the same thing, having to resist so much for so long when there's people around you saying, just have one, or they're going out, you can't do this. And then, I mean, eating is a social thing, and then you can't drink, which is another huge social thing. So it's a mental grind when it comes to that aspect. I understand that.
Oh, it is totally. And I think that's why the community of when you're in, you know, that auditorium or wherever your competition is so humbling, because you're finally around people that get it, you know?
Yeah.
Like you can have support from friends or family, you know, or boyfriends or girlfriends, but unless you are doing it, you really don't, you know? And I would have friends tell me like, come on, you can just have this glass of wine, you'll burn it off tomorrow. And I'm like, it just doesn't work that way in this sport. Yeah. You know, not when I'm 2, 3 weeks, 4 weeks out, like they just don't understand how much every calorie is accounted for.
Yeah. So I would love to know the type, like, I mean, if you can tell me as much as you want, but like, what's the nutritional strategy there? How much effort is putting into your nutrition? What has changed? What have you doing now that you're in the field that we learned that was incorrect, or tricks, anything like that? I'm super interested in that.
Yeah. Well, honestly, and I think that's why I'm so driven to compete again this year, because your first couple shows as a competitor, from, you know, taking it from that standpoint, you don't know your body, you know, you're trying to figure it out. And two competitors can go on the same diet and same meal plan regimen, because we all process things differently. We all have different, you know, metabolic needs for our bodies. So a lot of it takes time to experiment and get to know your body and what works the best for you. And I mean, whether you're a competitor or not, that's just how it goes for anyone. Like no two people can follow the same meal plan. Taking it from like a competition standpoint, nothing really like what I learned in college and then what I've been able to apply in the field, like I felt like it made me a very coachable competitor because I actually, understood the macros, the carbohydrates, the proteins and fat that make up your daily calories. I've weighed food before, I'd kind of touched on that. So I understood that your body has different needs and that say I need to eat 1,500 calories, but I need it to be made up of, 200 grams of carbs and 140 grams of protein and 50 grams of fat, whatever that is. Those numbers probably don't add up, but taking it from that and then knowing how to meal plan to hit those numbers precisely.
Yeah. So what was your nutrition plan the first meet that you did? Like, let's say 4 weeks leading up to the show. What did the nutrition look like?
It varied, because we kind of, once we got closer, I'd send progress photos to my coach, almost every day, and we'd be weighing every day and tracking every day. And then a lot of it, once you get in those last week or two, and it's just kind of a maintenance at that point. When you're getting very close, you're not trying to build strength. You're not going to put muscle on. Like, that's kind of when it gets into the extreme of the sport. But, you just kind of get in a rhythm and you stick to it. And I figured out the foods that fit to the calorie needs that I needed at the time.
What were those?
And I'm trying to remember my first show. I think those last couple of weeks, I think I was at about 1,200 calories.
Okay. And how'd you break that up into multiple meals, bigger meals?
Yes, multiple meals throughout the day. The right sources, a couple of times we tried, and going into my second show, we tried carb cycling. So that's a whole nother manipulation to try out and experiment with. I've always been a very, very big chicken eater. I do not get sick of chicken. So that's kind of what I stuck to because I know my body handles it well. I know I don't mind eating it. I'm not a fish eater, so I didn't touch on that. I just only stuck to chicken.
Okay.
But breakfast for me
was usually... Do you do any
usually...
kind of protein supplements, like a protein shake, protein powder, protein bar?
Once I got closer, for me personally, I started eliminating all the protein bars just because all that processed food then wasn't settling well with my stomach.
How close are we talking? Like
probably within the month of.
Oh, the month of. Okay. Mm-hmm. And when you started taking out some of that processed stuff, because even the cleanest protein powder, the simplest protein bar, they're still processed. They're not whole food. So what kind of differences did you notice, since you know every single calorie that's going in your body, you know what your body should look like and should feel like, or you're wanting it to feel like, when you cut out those processed stuff, what was the changes? What did you see?
Yeah. For me, I just felt better. And of course that's going to be for anything. When you eat something that's not just full of crap, you won't feel like crap. I have a very sensitive stomach, I've learned going through this. So there's a lot of times if I eliminate certain things or so much processed food, like I can have better digestion and just not feel so, sick from it.
Okay. So for the last month, you would say 90 to 95% of your protein all came from chicken?
No, I still had a protein shake in there.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
So is it just whey?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
and then...
I've switched now, but at the time I was using the ISO 100, like the Elite Dimetized brand.
Okay, what do you use now?
I've actually switched from powders right now, so I know it's more expensive for me, but I'm buying the Premier protein shakes. Sometimes I just didn't like the way that my stomach was digesting the powders, so right now I just buy the pre-made shakes.
Okay, and what company is that?
Premier Protein.
Premier Protein. Never heard of it.
Mm-hmm.
So do you just buy like the already made shakes that's in the little cartons?
Yep. It's from Walmart that I get these from. I'm sure they're all over the place, but.
So that doesn't bother your stomach?
Mm-mm.
Because
no.
I have a pretty sensitive stomach too. And I've noticed I can't do shakes too much. And if I do shakes, it's got to be very, very simple. And I can't do any of the pre-made shakes. Well, I've only tried like 2 or 3, and they all just didn't taste right to me. Didn't make my stomach feel good. Just wasn't interesting to me.
See, and that's why it's hard for me, even with clients, that I have to be like, oh, you should go get this protein or you should eat this, because we all react so different to the foods that we put into our own bodies. So you just figure it out along the way.
Okay. So when you were eating those 1,200 calories, which, by the way, let's go over how tall are you? How much were you weighing? Because one, if people are listening to this, 1,200 calories. Oh, so I can look like a model if I eat 1,200 calories. This is a very scientific process. Like, you really knew what you were doing. And again, we've talked about, we've had education, but kind of do some statistics for us, or numbers.
So I worked my way into that. I didn't just say one day, like, hey, I'm just going to eat that amount. My coach and I very strategically, as contest date was approaching, worked our way, into lowering them so your body can adapt correctly. And of course, I knew those last couple of weeks would feel extreme, but it didn't to me. I never felt like I was starving. Of course, there's times where you have cravings, but I felt, because I was eating whole foods throughout the day, that I was getting plenty of food. When you eat the right foods, there's so much more. A 300-calorie meal that I eat with the right foods, I can actually eat a lot compared to one slice of a 300-calorie piece of pizza.
Yeah.
And then our water intake was so high, so that keeps you full. But then you're doing added cardio. So it's kind of just a whole mix of a lot that I know seems kind of unreal to people. But
so how tall are you?
I am 5'6".
Okay. And how much were you weighing, let's say, a month out?
My stage weight, this is terrible. I don't remember my first show. By my third show, which I was leaner on my third show because we kind of knew what we were doing, and I didn't have enough time to go into like a phase of building. So at that time, it was more just to lean me out as much as I could. So I was down to 108 by my third show. I was probably sitting like 110 at my first show.
What do you walk around regular right now?
Right now, I'm at 116.
Okay. So you're dropping anywhere from 6 to 8 pounds?
For me personally, yeah. And, that depends on everyone's goals and everyone's bodies. There's some people, that in off season want to put on 20 pounds, and you're trying to, have that be a balance of, fat and lean muscle. And there's some people that like to just kind of always be in a prep mindset and only want to go maybe 5 to 7 pounds over their stage weight.
Okay. So and you don't have to do like your first show, but when you were in the season of the competition, what would a regular day look like with you for nutrition? Like, you don't have to go over exact numbers, but like, what was breakfast, what was snack, lunch, and all that stuff? And what did you find that really worked well for you that didn't upset your stomach, that you could do continuously?
Yeah. Are you talking on competition day?
Yeah. No, not competition day, but just in like a month out. Or like when you're kind of in your competition prep.
Yeah. I loved oatmeal, egg whites. Once I was getting closer, and you know this from college, we are big peanut butter junkies. Yep. So I had to switch to PB2, once those, peanut butter calories had to be cut, because I can't afford 200 calories just off of one spoonful of peanut butter.
It adds up real quick.
Yes, it does. So I switched to PB2, and would mix that with water and a little bit of cinnamon and a little bit of sweet and low just to kind of sweeten it.
Okay.
Rice cakes with peanut butter on it. Occasionally I'd use actual peanut butter, but I would actually weigh out maybe 12 to 15 grams of it. So it wouldn't even be a full serving of peanut butter.
Okay.
And yeah, I'd probably eat chicken and brown rice maybe 3 times a day. My shake, my breakfast, I said, was usually oatmeal and some egg whites.
So when you're in that state of depleting your body and knowing that you're doing it correctly, like you're still eating whole foods, but because of the limited amount of calories, you can't just take in different types of nutrients and making sure that you're getting a balanced diet of all the different vegetables and fruits. And because I'm guessing when you're prepping, you guys stay away from fruits, correct?
I try to, yeah. I mean, I love bananas, so I usually keep that in, but yeah, what's hard to balance between prep versus like the average healthy lifestyle, everyone says eat your fruits and vegetables. But fruits are so high in sugar, and obviously sugar is a carbohydrate. So you just have to be mindful,
Yeah, I always recommend
of your intake of them.
Yeah, I always recommend people use fruit as a dessert. So try to cut out fruit from the majority of your diet, like every day. Like you don't have to have it a banana every day for breakfast, and then an apple at lunch, and then some sort of fruit at night. It doesn't have to be like that. You can limit it where you're still getting. I mean, you can get so much of the vitamins in vegetables. Like people don't realize how much more vitamins and minerals are in vegetables compared to fruit. But instead of having that dessert or that snack midnight, have a piece of fruit, have a half a bowl of berries, or like cut up like a half a peach or something like that, because those are just as much sugar. It's just a different complex. It just tastes different.
Right. And I like to do this too, but there's a lot of competitors, or even, normal people I talk to at the gym, but to freeze fruit. Have you ever done that, to like freeze bananas or freeze grapes?
Yeah. I always have frozen bananas in the freezer for protein shakes.
And even if you eat it frozen, though, I don't really freeze grapes all that often, but I hear people like to do that because it takes you longer to eat. If you're trying to eat a frozen grape, like it slows down your ingestion of it.
Yeah.
And then, you'll get fuller.
Yeah. I know a lot of people that would actually, I started freezing my cashews. I know that's complete random tangent. I had a client, and he's like, he was telling me about what he ate, and he was talking to me about how he, I don't remember how he brought it up, but something about how he goes over to the freezer as soon as he gets home and grabs a handful of cashews. I'm like, wait, hold up, back up. What did you just say? So apparently it's a thing that a lot of like European countries do. They put a lot of nuts, but definitely cashews in the freezer. And it has nothing to do with keeping it more sanitary or keep it fresher longer. It's all about, it changes the texture, the complex of it. It's super weird. They don't actually freeze. It just, I don't know. You got to try it. Put some cashews in the freezer and eat it. And it's like, changes the texture. It doesn't completely get super cold, so you can like eat it right away. It's not something you have to like take small bites of it like a frozen banana one, if you have, because a lot of time people have some sensitive teeth. But it's really good. But yes, I have a lot of people will recommend doing the frozen fruit because because after you freeze stuff, it almost seems stronger, or almost seems like more dense when it's frozen, because it takes you longer to eat. Sometimes even like frozen blueberries taste stronger or taste sweeter.
No, you're so right. Were you the one that taught me egg whites and peanut butter?
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Everyone makes fun of me for doing that, and I still eat that. And everybody, like, that's so gross. And I'm like, not until you try it.
I have shown that so many times. I don't even remember where I got it, but for anybody that's listening, please do this for me. Take a hard-boiled egg and then eat it with peanut butter. It is amazing. You put peanut butter on top of it, you bite it. A lot of you are probably saying, ew. If you just turned off the episode, it's fine, whatever. But I'm telling you, it tastes amazing, and you got to try it. Just do it.
Yeah, that's still why you see that as a snack in Florida. And that's still my breakfast now. I'll do egg whites and peanut butter and oatmeal. And everyone's awesome. Like, what are you putting on your egg whites? I'm like, peanut butter. Like,
it's the best
I think
topping
it's so normal
ever.
Now, and I forget that it's not normal.
Yeah, it's the best topping.
I'm like, don't hate until you try it.
Don't hate it. You used to have a iron issue, correct?
I did, yes.
Yeah, what was that called?
I was just, I was anemic, so I just had an iron deficiency. Which, going into prep, had me nervous because I didn't know really what your body goes through. And I was like, oh no, like what's going to happen if, I had gotten some treatments. I had to get some IV infusions for it while in Florida. And I didn't know because a lot of times, I just take an iron supplement pill daily.
Okay. And it didn't affect you while you were going into when you were like restricting certain nutrients?
It didn't, and I'm very thankful, and I'm shocked because I just didn't know, putting your body through all those changes, what would happen. Occasionally, just because I'm my own and I don't like to be dependent on medicines, I'll stop taking my iron pill. And then when going through prep, I'd realize I started bruising really easily, and that's just a sign that, okay, yeah, my iron's low. So I just take the pills again, and I've actually been fine, but for a while, yeah, it was a really weird situation that happened out of nowhere. And, I've talked to a couple other competitors that have said that they've had that before. And obviously this happened to me before ever competing, but it was definitely something I was very mindful of my entire prep, especially, on a normal now, I probably have steak 2 times a week. So for a while when I was just trying to stick to chicken and not having so much of red meat sources.
Yeah, that's something I was going to ask you about. I know you said you eat a lot of chicken, but do you incorporate red meat? Do you do that for health reasons?
Yeah, well, I'm a big steak person. So
okay. Good, that makes me happy.
Oh yeah. My boyfriend and I usually have that every Monday night for dinner is usually our meal prep, and then we make a fresh steak.
Nice. What's your favorite cut of steak?
I love them all. We usually get a sirloin because I try and keep it lean.
Okay.
So that's usually what I get. But.
So what are the type of supplements or things that you had to incorporate into your diet? Because when you are going through cutting, and this doesn't have to be just the month out, but anytime where you're in prep, where you're starting to really care about your calories and you're either restricting it or you're putting it into certain places because you're trying to gain specific results with your body. What kind of supplements are you using to combat that?
Yeah. Personally, to be honest, I didn't do anything else. I hear of other competitors that show stacks of, pictures of all their stuff that they're taking. I didn't need to, and there was nothing else as far as training purposes that my coach was like, oh, you should be on this. So mainly for me, I was just very attentive to my iron and in tune with my body, because when I first had my iron deficiency, it was a lot of low energy and headaches. So as long as I was paying attention to how I was feeling every day, and I knew I was still getting good sources of vegetables. I take a vitamin C pill, I guess, but I do that year round. But outside of that, it was just, every person needs to be just in tune with their own body. And I never felt any other complications.
Okay. So you don't take any kind of creatine or creatinine or branched chain aminos?
No, well, yeah, I guess after workouts, I would drink BCAA, so your branched chain aminos. But that was just more so to just help.
With recovery?
The recovery. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Cool. So completely competition aside, what is an average day of nutrition looks like for you? And then what are some of the things that you are testing out or trying to help with your clients and trying to increase your knowledge base?
My daily nutrition, I still keep it year round, like pretty mindful. Like if I'm going to cheat, it's going to be a worthy cheat, and, prep has helped me with that, to have a better even understanding of foods and my reaction to body, like how my body reacts. So like, I'm not afraid of cheat meals. Like I'm going to enjoy a cheat meal. I'm more so of a sweets person and chocolate. So I'd rather eat healthy so I could have some chocolate at night.
Okay.
And then I kind of, even with my clients, my approach is trying to just teach maintaining a healthy balance and a healthy lifestyle. Like I'm not trying to make them, and I don't, outside of, prep situations, any specific diet. I think it's just about the choices that you make every day. Like 80% of the time, make healthy and nutritious decisions. And then when you want to treat yourself, enjoy it. There's going to be things in life that come up, and events and social events, or just that time where you want to sit down at night and have a glass of wine and eat some M&Ms, do it. But I think my biggest thing is making clients aware of foods and what foods mean when you put them into your body and what they're doing for you. I think awareness is just key, because probably a lot of people don't realize, even I guess I'll bring up the wine thing, what empty calories mean. So some people go out on the weekends, or even on an average night, and they're drinking a couple drinks a night or on a weekend, and they don't realize, how much that stuff adds up. So I try and just teach awareness of foods. I can't legally prescribe my clients on a meal plan because I'm not a dietitian, but I'm very open with them about just what a lifestyle is for them, what's going to be maintainable for them, and making them aware of what decisions they're making when they're, in certain situations.
Well, I think it's really important to state that unfortunately, just because of the way our healthcare system is set up or where our society is set up, is most people that are just trying to look for a healthy advantage, trying to drop some pounds or just trying to get their lifestyle together, they're not going to see a dietitian, because most people that go see dietitians either have the money, have a very specific, immune system issue or health related issue, or it's been doctor prescribed. So usually by that point they are having some sort of issue. But if it's just something where they're just trying to look better naked, they're trying to, change their lifestyle. Most of them are going to see a friend, see a family member, go to their friend that's a personal trainer, or they're going to actually hire a personal trainer, because why not have someone help me with my, strength issues and body composition issues, and then also nutritionists. So yes, me and you, we're both not registered dietitians, because that takes a lot of time and a whole, lateral move of job professions. But we do have to have a decent amount of nutrition education. And I know someone like me and you, we've done our own personal education and research when it comes to your specific issues, my specific issues. I know that many people know that I am a huge self guinea pig. I've tried almost every diet that you can think of. I've tried the stupid ones. I've tried the smart ones. I have a reasonably almost unbiased view on all of them. And me and you have done probably 300 to 400 hours of nutrition lectures. So I just want to reiterate that it really needs to be accepted in our society that personal trainers are also somewhat of educated nutritionists. We don't have a license for it, but we still have a decent amount of education. So it's great to hear that someone like you is taking the extra steps to get to the point where you do have a good understanding of people's relationship with food and how it becomes, like you said, awareness. It needs to be an awareness.
Yeah. And I think the big thing is that, having patience with yourself and really getting to learn. A lot of times clients are like, well, what should I eat and how many calories? And I said, I don't know where your calories are at right now. I need you to track, download MyFitnessPal, and be open and honest with me. Track whatever you eat for the next week so I can see, what a normal intake looks like for you. And then we can go from there.
Is that one of the hardest things that you have, is like the initial buy-in?
Probably, because, people are like, well, I don't want to give that up and I like that, or I don't want to give up my wine. And the thing is, like, I'm not making people give things up. I get it. I like my wine too, but you have to know your goals. And sometimes you have to be a little more motivated by your why if you want to see the results that you want.
So when people give you that, when people give you that pushback, what are some things that you work on to try to help them through that?
I just make them be realistic with their goals and what they really want, because I can push them as hard as I want in the gym, but I'm not in their kitchen. I'm not with them on their dinner nights out. I'm not controlling what they're putting in their bodies. So ultimately it comes down to them, and 100% of the time it comes down to their nutrition and what they're doing outside of the gym, And sometimes as a trainer, that's frustrating when you see someone work really hard and you know that they could be getting a little better results. But, if it comes down to the client. So I'll always make them aware, and I'll try and say, hey, if you're going to go out to dinner at night and you may have a few drinks with your friends, like maybe during the day, like it's easy to eat carbs and get your fats in at night and then, empty calories from the drinks. So maybe during the day, fill up on water, increase your protein. So hopefully you can balance out your evening a little better,
Yeah, I think that's
it's just
a good
preparation,
strategy.
Planning ahead.
Yeah. I think I have been really getting into and dabbling a lot of nutrient timing and figuring out the exact times that my body reacts better, when I should have my carbs, when I should cycle the fats and the proteins. Like you were saying, the balance of having a healthy lifestyle, but also being able to enjoy yourself. It's super important.
Yeah. Like you only live life once. So I don't want to feel, outside of a prep when I have very specific goals. But other than that, like I reverse dieted after my prep and I enjoyed life. I was very mindful.
What does reverse dieting mean?
So, and before going into prep, and I even did my first competition, my coach addressed with me initially that, after you're done or when you feel you're done, we'll need to go into a reverse diet. And I want to bring it up to you now so that you're aware of it, because a lot of times competitors may come off stage and you're just craving everything and it's very easy to want to binge eat. But when you put your body down to the state that it's in for a competition, you kind of have to retrain your body's maintenance. So yes, like, when the competition night was over, we all went out for a dinner and enjoyed it. But then I spent the next several weeks being very mindful to slowly increase my caloric intake so that my body could handle it right, rather than just gaining 20 pounds. Because I've heard those stories.
Yeah. So how'd you do it? Did you increase, how would you increase your calories?
A very slow process. So going into a competition, I was, those last couple of weeks, hitting the cardio. So first it was just like, okay, I don't need to hit the cardio as extreme, but we kept my calories about the same. And then we slowly would increase by about 200 was all.
Every week, every month?
It kind of, we did check-ins every week just to see. I think I increased by 200 calories for probably the next 2 weeks. So even though the competition was done, I was maybe only eating about 200 calories more for the next 2 weeks. And we just kind of kept, for me, it worked about 200 calories every couple of weeks to increase until I could finally get my body up to a good maintenance level again.
Now, was that increase in 200 calories straight peanut butter?
Right.
That's what I feel like I would do.
That's all I ate all day.
Coach, how much peanut butter can I have today? You can have 2 scoops. Okay. Thank you.
Trust me. My first show was in May, so over Easter, there's all the Easter candy, and the Reese's eggs are my favorite. Oh. I had them frozen in my fridge or in my freezer and ready to eat when I was done. I resisted for, the month and a half from Easter until my show.
That is by far the most country you have sounded and the most country thing. Frozen in my freezer. That was amazing.
They were frozen in my freezer.
I feel like I'm going to start the podcast off with that statement right there. All right. Well,
Reese's Easter eggs frozen in the freezer.
Yeah, those things are absolutely amazing. I've never had them frozen just because every time I get them from the store, they're going right down the hatch.
Right.
Yeah. So I know you're big into self-development and healthy lifestyle, the balance. So I just kind of wanted to give you the floor on I would love to hear more about all the different stuff. I've been loving the different social media posts that you've been doing. I think if I can find it real quick. No, I went away from the screen. But there was one I was reading about just the new you, 2019, how look at 2018, see how you got there. I mean, it was an awesome post. So I would just love to hear your thoughts on the things that you've been trying to do and how you're trying to motivate people and reach people.
Yeah. So that has been like my passion this past year. Like everything I've gone through from job transitions to prep life has really shaped me. And I've really started to realize that I don't need to try and fit the societal norm that I put so much pressure on myself to, feel like that needs to fulfill me, when I just want to feel fulfilled within myself. Before I started my position at the gym, I was actually laid off from my corporate position. So I went through this transition of like, now what? I'm broke. Like, what do I do? And even with that cutback, I feel more whole and more wealthy than I've ever felt in my life, because I'm just understanding who I am as a person. And I'm so rich in like developing myself that it takes away so many other things I thought I placed value on in my life. So I've just been a big advocate of that lately. And I've taken time to, my coach and my boss at my gym has been through all of it with me, and he's been a great mentor in my life. And then I met a couple girls that actually introduced me to Rodan & Field Skincare and that business opportunity. So I actually joined their team. And not only does skincare, of course, play into the whole taking care of yourself and overall wellness, I'm a big advocate of my skincare regimens and my routine with that. But I also created a side business with that. And not only has it been a great business opportunity, but it's the women I learned from and what they teach me about just going after your dreams and chasing what you want and stop worrying about what everyone else may think or have opinions about, and really dive into the center of you. I've read plenty of books over this past year, church sermons, anything that can kind of help me. I'm spending every day surrounding myself by the people, the books, the material, the mindset of what I can do to just grow as myself, and then hopefully, spread that to other people and hope that it touches someone else's lives. Is kind of why I guess I make the Instagram posts that I do. It's become very therapeutic for me, but if it touches one person, then I'm grateful for that.
That's awesome. That's all you can ask for. Is just, if you only help one person, that's enough, because that one person will hopefully feel motivated to help another person, or to show the post or send the post to another person. So the triple effect, the magnitude effect, that just being positive and being who you are genuinely, and not trying to just be something different just because it's Instagram showing the highlight story is good. And I think it's good. We went through this whole social media thing where everybody was posting the best things in life and showing the highlight. And then it was this whole thing wait, well, Instagram is a highlight reel. What about the real day life? And I think it's cool that a lot of people are starting to, talk about that and showcase that more, and doing that stuff. And that can really, that comes off in your post that this is who you are. And this is not just a money pitch. This is not, obviously you're not making, at least I don't know. I don't think many people don't make money.
I'm not making any money off of Instagram. No.
Yeah. Well, what I was going to say is that you don't make a ton of money in the bikini world. So, obviously at the top you do, but right now you're doing this.
To be honest, I go broke.
Yeah.
The cost to be in a competition is outrageous. So anyone else that wants to compete, make sure you save your pennies. Do it because it's worth
exactly
the life transformation and personal development. It's worth that all day to me, but it is not a cheap sport. No.
Yeah, for sure. That was the same thing in triathlons. Triathlon is not a cheap sport to get into. And I remember the biggest race I won that got me qualified to go to the national championship was a plastic mug that said, the name of the race, a medal that was really cheap, whatever that is, ribbon around your neck and didn't even say first place. It just said, again, the logo of the triathlon. It was funny. It was just this is the biggest race I've won. This is the best time I've done. And this is all I get. So it's you do this stuff for the love of sport and for your own personal satisfaction.
It is.
Saying that you can do this.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So many people have, come up to me after and been like, so what do you get for competing? And I'm like, nothing. Self-gratitude.
I get an awesome Instagram picture.
Yeah. Right.
Which will you probably get 100 pictures and you have to decide on which one to use for the next day or two.
Right. That you also have to pay for. And
Yeah, so I'm sure it's not cheap. So where can people find you and learn more and see these amazing Instagram posts that I've been talking about?
Yeah, so I guess my Instagram is Jenna Johnson 24. If anyone's in the Nashville area, and whether you just want to come for a workout, a meet and greet, want to meet up, or are interested in contest prep, or just anything in life, please connect with me. Come into Get Fit on the Go studio. We're in South Nashville. I'm don't know. I'm open to anyone. Like, I love meeting people. So hopefully if this can touch even one or two people
That's
from
awesome.
your podcast,
Yeah.
which I love that you're doing this, David. I think that's awesome.
Thanks. Yeah. Now you got a little Southern twang, so it's even cooler to talk to you now.
That's so funny because I'll probably listen back to this whole thing and then probably hear it. But
Yeah.
when I talk, I never hear it until someone calls me out on it.
Yeah, but you're just immersing yourself with the surrounding.
Oh, gosh. When I was home for Christmas, everyone's like, yep, you have it now. You've been there long enough. And I was like, I blame my boyfriend because he has it worse.
Yeah. All right, Jenna. Well, thank you so much for coming on the show.
Yeah, thank you, David. I appreciate all this time.
You're welcome. All right. Thank you, Jenna. That was awesome podcast. I learned a lot from her on the bikini model or just the fitness aspect of being a competitor in that world. It's completely different than anything I've ever done. Some really good insight on that. Thank you, everybody, for listening. Hope you enjoyed that episode. Please subscribe to the podcast and leave a review. It is now available on YouTube and anywhere that you can find a podcast. Thank you so much.